now going to hand over to Mark Stubbings. We've taken some of his time. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm sure everyone would probably much rather listen to Dave, who we got the benefit of listening to about 6 weeks ago. So they're an incredibly impressive group of people. Bill Hadrill was his boss, who also sat on that Zoom call, and they really inspired us to have this session today. So I'm really glad you all got to at least hear him. He was a little video down at the bottom there. So my job in 10 or 15 minutes was just to sort of pull it all together. I'll do three things. I'll just issue some thank yous because to bring something like this together takes quite a bit of community, and we've heard a lot about community this afternoon, so it's very heartening to have so many people turn up as well. I'll ask the question now. Jeff and I have got some ideas as to what we do next, but I'm really interested to hear from you what you think we should do next. Is this an idea that appeals to you and you'd like us to take it further? Do you want to just chew on it for a while and have some more information, or ask some questions? Do you want another session? So I'll leave that for you to think about while I do the thank yous, and then I'll just do a bit of a wrap up with some parish notes and tell you about a few things that we're doing. So just in terms of thank yous, I will just acknowledge Jeff Pryor's work in pulling all this together, including each of the speakers. I think it's been a magnificent effort, and I think we've got the best presentations we could hope for to understand this issue. This has all come about as a result of the Chamber's strategy, and I think Susan Gray and Carrie Taylor should be really acknowledged for the work they did in making sure that the whole district was part of that strategy, which I found very exciting and got involved in as a result. The food's gone now. I assume you all ate it rather than it being carried away, but certainly Janine Hallis and Teresa Stubbings was in there as well, helping out in the kitchen this morning, so that was beautiful. I suppose Anthony acknowledged that he was a Collingwood supporter. Peter gave us a picture of his very colourful brain, and I sat next to him at dinner last night and can ascribe to his brain. My acknowledgement is twofold. One, I'm a Queenslander and I live deep behind enemy lines here in southern New South Wales. And I'm a lawyer, so those two things combined will mean I'll never have a friend in this community. But in a past life, I was a partner of a 140-member law firm, and I remember the worst job someone had was running the IT for a meeting like this. So I just want to acknowledge Richard pulled off a really great result in real life silver. Ably supported by Tom Scullender, and all of this IT, again funded by the Chamber, like the CWA recent event that Grant was involved in, and Teresa and others. We're trying to capture all this information and make it available to you. So that's one thing in the wrap-up, that it'll all be available, but thanks, mate. Media's been really interested in this, so it is an exciting topic. The presenters were excellent. I just want to acknowledge Gary Campbell and Muriel's attendance today. I think that was really good, and they remained and listened. I think it's a really important thing for our community to have those strong relationships with both local Aboriginal land councils and the board of management. Anthony's presentation was really wonderful, and it's great to also have a number of really significant council managers in the room to hear what we're doing and hopefully to be excited about what we're trying to do. Peter was amazing, both at dinner and his presentation. We can't get a better expert in Australia to talk to us about this. And Dave and his boss, Bill Hadrill, are just incredible to listen to, and it's great to see that council going ahead. And then all of you, to get such a great response. Apologies for the number of emails, I'll back them off now in the next few weeks, but to get 70 or so people involved and 20 who couldn't make it but want to be involved, so 100 people out of however many people are in this district, was really great. And it's such a wide variety. We've got residents both sort of beachside in Mystery Bay, hobby farmers like me, people in rural bush blocks, business owners up and down the street, significant agricultural pursuits. Great to see the larger landowners here, new people like me, old people, First Nations people. I think it was great to have all of those people in the room, and as I say, to have council representation was great. So that gave you a few minutes while I warbled on as I like to, just to sort of offer thoughts from the floor as to what you would like to see next, or experiences you might have had in other locations. Richard? Yep.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a quick comment. I actually lived in a biosphere in Western Port Bay area for quite a number of years, and was also part of a group called the Western Port Protection Council. And we found having the biosphere there was an incredible advantage in gaining respect, from around Australia and even internationally as a place of environmental significance and historical significance. And this place obviously is incredibly valuable in that way. We found it attracted more funding when we wanted to deal with particular issues in the area. Like we had actually, just right near where I lived, Watson's Creek, and it was actually had identified as the worst water quality in Victoria, one of the worst in Australia. And through that biosphere accreditation, we attracted funding and we did some amazing work cleaning up that creek. And that was one of the creeks that flowed into Western Port Bay, which was one of the most significant areas that attracted the funding in the first place because of the seagrass meadows that grow in the bay there, and basically, and a number of other projects that happened there gained a lot more attention and a lot more support through having that, that classification of a biosphere. So, for someone who lived in an area like that for quite a long time, I highly recommend the value. Commercially, from a tourist point of view, it's huge. Like what Dave was saying about this corridor of biospheres they're setting up, they're going to gain from that hugely. And so I strongly encourage people to think positively about it, no matter what your place as a stakeholder is, whether it's from a commercial perspective. We all will gain from this, and we'll all get to actually communicate a lot more practically than maybe we are now. So, yeah.
Thanks, Richard. Just one quick point. Shanna's question about, I don't think it was quite understood, but Shanna's question about how do you get visitors to understand what you might have signed up for. I'll just mention one little thing. Hi, Shanna. Actually, another member of our group, Sinead Rorty, who's an advertising person and is in Tilbury Environment Name Care, has come up with an idea, or let us know about an idea about a year ago. Two examples. One is called the Tiaki Promise and the other is the Palau Pledge. So Palau, I think, is a little island off the Philippines. When you go into Palau, fly in, your passport gets stamped with a little sort of sustainability pledge, and that's one way of having visitors to that place just think about making sure that they leave it in as good a spot, if not or good a condition as it was when they arrived. And the other one, and I'll circulate these, get one more email from me unfortunately, I'll circulate the Tiaki Promise. So this is the Kiwis who always do these things pretty well as well. The entire country has this idea of making sure that we leave their beautiful places in as good, if not better position for their children and grandchildren as we experience today, which is my driver for this area. It's such a beautiful, unique area. I remember going to Noosa when I was in my 20s and there were 12 buildings along Hastings Street. It's not quite like that now, and I remember going to lots of other places that aren't quite as they were when I was in my 20s. I just want to make sure that my kids and my grandkids get to experience essentially what we're seeing here. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Nick Van Stecklenberg, I live on the other side of the mountain. Seems like the focus is quite high on tourism, and the Sunshine Coast invested $500,000 in it, and I'm sure that they want to get their money back. They see that as an investment. I'd like to see, they're talking about biodiversity and cultural diversity. I'd like to see diversity in potential income streams and meaningful employment, like, for example, feeding feeding ourselves, being self-sufficient, or at least aiming towards self-sufficiency as a community and as a shire. I think the capitalist model is always looking at growth, and David mentioned that we want to, part of being a biosphere is so we can lift our image to the world and bring more tourism in, and of course from a business perspective most people would like to see that, but not everyone wants to see that, and increasing tourism and just people and numbers in general, and the effect that has on the environment. It's one of my big concerns. And also the term Biosphere Reserve is like, oh, yep, we'll do like we do with a national park. We'll lob a little bit up here and disconnect ourselves from this, and then we'll plunder another area, and or a zoo. It's a similar sort of thing. Let's preserve this as a little token area, and people can come and look at how a little beautiful biosphere works. Come and pay your money, walk through the turnstile, and I'd rather see some diversity in terms of meaningful employment and supplying ourselves with food, and ourselves with the materials we need. We've got national parks locked up on one side, we've got forestry raping and pillaging and sending it over to Japan on the other side, and if we want to buy some building materials to supply ourselves with the population growth and housing that is going to come, where do we get our materials from? From all over the world, but we're protecting little old Tilba. But what is what is the bigger picture? What's the holistic framework around that? So I'd like to see us become more self-sufficient and more diverse, and not just focusing on the tourism side of things.
I don't think anyone's focusing on tourism. I think you've got to look at the difference between Sunshine Coast has 350,000 people. It's a city. There's $1 billion shopping centre there, there's $1 billion hospital there. So it's a completely different model to what we might be looking at here if it is Tilba or if it's Eurobodalla Shire, for instance, as the Biosphere Reserve. You're looking at, 1,000 people maybe in this district, 900? So it would be a completely different model for us, and I agree with you. I think the ability to have low mile foodage and all the other supplies that we need to have Tilba Dairy and to have bread makers and to have food suppliers and to have agriculture, and also to have probably a different type of economy here, certainly a different type of economy to the Sunshine Coast. It's a massive city really compared to us. It's 10 times bigger than Eurobodalla Shire in terms of the population. So I don't think you need to say, well, it's a biosphere reserve. You take it off the shelf, you just put it over Tilba or you put it over Eurobodalla, and that's what you get. I think the beauty of this, as it's been explained, is I think the community gets to design it and decide which are the elements that are the core, which are the elements that are the transition or buffer areas. And we're entirely different in terms of geography and demography and the businesses here. We don't have international resorts and those sorts of things, and I don't think we want them just quietly. This is actually all about trying to manage that kind of development, and it's also, so I've got a very strong association with the Sunshine Coast. My family have lived or holidayed there all of my life. I know exactly what it's become. I don't want to become looser around here. I don't want to become cool around here, to be honest with you. Go on. Yep. But it's beautiful for 350,000 people to live in a very lovely city, but we're not that. So we'll be something different, I think.
Yeah. Thank you.
Down the back, Sean.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it would be possible to have a copy of Peter's excellent slides emailed out to us.
I think so, yeah. Well, so one of the wrap-up...
I've got it, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, well one of the wrap-up things will be both of the PowerPoints. All of this is being recorded. The Chamber was very generous in giving the Landcare Group a page. The strategy has a page on Visit Tilba, and I think what Susan and Carrie are trying to do is drive more visitation to that website, not just by people looking for a coffee or a beer or a nice place to stay. It's also to be able to promote some of these ideas on that website. So we'll find a way of getting all of this technology. We thought we'd get it down first, but that'll certainly be coming everyone's way pretty soon. Yes, Kathy, we'll start with this side of the room and then I'll do that side of the room. The brides first and then the groom. Other.
Mark, just referring back to the gentleman down the front and his contribution, perhaps one of the focuses of the biosphere might be a higher mindfulness of the shadow places we create. Also, referring to the pledge possibility, that strikes me immediately as being a perfect reconciliatory action in that we have our own ancient culture and people who might assist in developing the pledge.
So it sounds like some of these comments are all about a next step might be, well, what are those values? What are those elements? What would we like ours to look like if we're going to go down that track? And I think to be able, if we get council's engagement in that conversation, it'd be great to have that discussion with council for funding and for leadership. If we can get the same leadership the Sunshine Coast has for their area, it's different for their area. I acknowledge that, but to have that would be great. But thanks for that comment, Kathy. So over here, something. Yes, sir.
Clear enough, Mark, you know, I still hold a Queensland birth certificate.
Yeah, we're growing.
And listening to that hum, that's nothing compared to when I go to America and my certificate shows that I was born in Texas. Queensland, it makes it even bigger. However, I think it's a brilliant idea, the contribution's great. However, I think the starting point is a mud map. You need a mud map, as rough as you like, you've got council to call on. And I offer myself drawing skills at 50 odd years as an architect. I'd like to contribute and help you with that. But you need something visually to say to people, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Words are English. You know, we don't know what we're actually talking about. And when you start with that mud map, you'll be able to identify the beginnings and the elements that are required to become that place. At the moment, we know the beauty because I didn't mention it. I live in Paradox by choice. But that's where you start. You've got to have that visual and see, aha, no, it should be this, it should be that, it should be something, just enough.
See, this is why I live in the Tilbury area. I'm surrounded by creative people. I'm a lawyer. I've got no idea how to draw something, but that'd be fantastic. I'll work that way in a minute, Dave. Go, off you go.
Yeah. In terms of a mud map, I mentioned to someone before, a good starting point could well be the fact that in the late 70s, when the Tilbury Conservation Area was first proposed through the National Trust, there was also a second conservation area which was called the Tilbury District Landscape Conservation Area. It had defined borders that went from somewhere like Glasshouse Rocks in the Narooma, including the lakes that are coming this way, round the back of the mountain. I think it went down to about Bermagui. I've still got that map. That could be potentially a really good starting point. And they would have had to have had some... they would have also had to have had some written component upon which the area was classified. And I'm not quite sure... But we could probably still access that through the archives of the National Trust of New South Wales.
That'd be fantastic, really good. Yeah, I challenged you earlier to go through your filing system and find a few things.
Everybody's details, it's okay.
Yeah, no, that would be fantastic. Yeah, and I think also to go out to Barranguba, Montague Island, I think is an important element for any mud map.
Yep.
So,
and you've also got, you know, haven't we got marine parks on the coast as well? So that interaction between how far out you go with the water with that, part of the interconnection of conservation areas or protected areas with landscape usages in between.
Yep.
Again, that then gives the outside, there's two of them. People want to say the word two. This is two. What we're talking about is the biosphere.
Yeah, exactly. David.
Mark, it struck me that what happened on the Sunshine Coast couldn't happen without not just being supported by the council, but really being a major initiative of the council and involved the whole Shire.
Yep.
So why should Eurobodalla particularly pick out Tilbury to be a biosphere rather than the whole Shire?
I can see Liz is scribbling feverishly down the back there.
Not committing any.
Have you got $500,000 in your budget? So This started with Jeff and I joining a land care group which had a very narrow focus, and we both came at it from different directions with different skills, different background, but we essentially said the same thing. The focus of this land care group needs to be wider, and the focus needs to include the preservation and enhancement of this area. So we're slightly different. Yes, Sunshine Coast led, and they led with their entire shire because it was a council-led thing. We're starting with kind of two blokes with half an idea, and we live in this district. I, for one, think it would be a great result if the Eurobodalla Shire was the Biosphere Reserve, and council, write this down, Liz, takes it back and gets excited. I thought I heard Councillor Anthony Main said they were already considering it, so it's all part of having those conversations. It's not Tilba, it's not being shut down, it's not a theme park for Tilba, it's not anything like that. We just started with where we live, with our idea. Is Nick?
So the $500,000, this is just an example. I think the Biosphere idea is a great idea because of the outcomes that it could create, you know, and the community input that could go towards preserving and protecting and enhancing the natural environment, the culture, all those objectives are fantastic. Why would it need to be done in such a way that we have to get that recognition or accreditation from UNESCO? Couldn't it be a community-led and council supported project to basically see what the community wants and how the community as a whole would like to see those outcomes without having to involve the Biosphere and all the money and bureaucratic rigmarole that involves.
Yeah, so we needed a straw man. We needed a model to kind of compare what we want against. And your questioning it is a good point. No one's saying it must be that. It could be council changes to the town plan. It could be a more transparent arrangement in relation to how we zone the land and what our building controls are. It could be a whole host of other things. We're not saying it has to be one or other. It just is a good topic to kind of challenge, I suppose. I agree with you. It could be a community-led, incorporated or not incorporated group, and we all say, well, we're Tilba and this is the way we're going to do it, thanks.
Or we're Eurobodalla.
Or we're Eurobodalla, yeah, exactly. So nothing's set in concrete. It's the start of a conversation. It took the Sunshine Coast 5 years with $500,000 and with a strategy to deliver on that. Do we want to go through that whole process? Yeah. Yes, Shannon?
Can I just offer an insight here? In my experience in community engagement across Eurobodalla for the last 25 years, it's distinctly three regions. It's north, middle and south. And my experience and council's experience is that different visions, ideals, concepts in every part. So whilst, yes, it would be lovely to have it as a Eurobodalla thing, I think this would have a better chance of getting up if it started in Tilba, as Sunshine Coast has got three of those, what do they call them, mosaics. If you start smaller, you've got a much better chance of actually getting something, giving something legs, than trying to go across the shire. That would be my personal experience.
Yeah, I'm with Janet there too. Biosphere it's a lot more than just a council area. Like it really is a mosaic, and it has those distinct zones that are really governed by the changes in the landscape and in the zonings of areas and how land's being used. It's not just about the environment, as they say. It's about, you know, sustainable living on a whole range of levels. I think if it just gets its character identified through council and council zoning, it's going to be losing a lot. And the other thing is that a biosphere, you know, one of the key, most important parts of it is it's the international recognition of it being a really highly significant place, you know, environmentally and culturally. And I think anyone who's moved to this area for whatever your reasons are, understand the importance of this place here, it's particularly Gulaga Mountain, and to the Indigenous landowners of this place. And I think you might be losing a lot of those really key aspects if you don't adopt, if you didn't go for the biosphere in its whole sense, I believe.
That was a point I forgot to make to you, Nick. That was highly important, that international feel and profile was really important to Sunshine Coast, because that's the market they play in. They've got a quasi-international airport in Maroochydore. You can fly in there from Auckland or wherever you're coming from. Yes, I'll just start to wrap it up, given the length of time, and I really enjoyed the engagement.
I think there's a great virtue in starting small. And that apple, something that people can see take away starts enthusiasm, and enthusiasm spreads. So if you start worrying about limits, or start to limit something spreads, so start with something like that.
I think if you shouldn't restrict it to particular, I don't think you should make it Eurobanawa or Bega Valley, because this particular area is very mixed, and it goes through the Gilly, it goes around, and you're losing so much that is possibly very valuable to you, to the idea, by restricting it to the council boundaries.
Potentially by having a ring fence at Wallaga Lake Bridge, for instance, or whatever. Again, the reason for that is that the Landcare Group and the Chamber kind of define their level of interest in the Tilba district, but it's not set in stone. I guess what I'm hearing is a real interest in pursuing some of those ideas a little bit more. Our friend's over here with his crayons, being able to colour in some areas. And the real challenge, I guess, coming out of all of this is we do have a small group of a working party that's a subcommittee of the Chamber. I've got a registration thing over there if you want to become interested in working with us. Sounds like a few of our creatives are going to help us, which is fantastic. Please jot your name down on the way out. So that's one of the takeaways. We'll prepare a bit of a summary. A few people had to duck away and they wanted to know whether there's a summary, so we'll produce a summary on top of the 3 hours of recordings. You'll probably see a bit more in the media. Stuart's always asking for articles in the Triangle, so that's something I'm going to do in the next 24 hours. Thanks, Stuart. But yes, it's really important that we keep that momentum going in the local media. I'm the Virgo of the room, so I've created the world's biggest email distribution list. You're all on it. Tell me if you don't want to be on it, because you're going to get emails from me. I'll put a plug in for the Landcare membership. We sit at about 32, 33 members. This is where this kind of idea came from. We'd welcome your membership. And I just, as I say, really personally extend an invitation for you to get involved in this conversation more and drop me an email as to what you think we should be doing next. We don't have all the answers, but we're really keen to pursue it. So thank you for your attention and engagement and enthusiasm today, and I look forward to talking to you about it in the future. Thanks.